Então, vamos começar mais um direto. É fazer o seguimento daqueles que estávamos a fazer, portanto, o resumo do evento do COMPUTEX 2025 em Taipei. Ontem fizemos um intervalo, visto que tínhamos um outro assunto, pois hoje vamos voltar. Vamos trazer novamente o Kit Guri, vamos trazer o Tech City, também já falei aqui com ele, o Hardware Unboxed, já é boa conhecido. Vamos mostrar também coisas da MSI e depois motherboards e um cabo específico que também já falei aqui desse cabo aqui há uns tempos atrás. Ok? Portanto, acho que o resumo está mais ou menos feito. Vamos então partir aqui para o início. Ok, já sabem, sigam depois aqui o Tech City.
Colorful, and they make some really good graphics cards at this point in time.
Gráficas da Colorful.
Really interesting concept. This is the CVN X870 Arc Frozen V14. Now,
Outra borda também interessante.
you're looking at something unique here because this motherboard will support 10,000 megahertz memory, but if we look at the typical 2 and 4, that's your typical fastest slots on your memory. They've changed it so that 1 and 3 will now be the new fastest slots. And when I asked them how,
vai aguentar até 10.000.
translated from Mandarin,
Foi impressionante, 10.000 MHz.
how do you make a car faster? You rip out the seats. And I was like, okay, fair enough. So that's what they're doing with this motherboard. They're making it so that the traces are even closer on 1 and 3
Yeah.
than they are on 2 and 4 to connect to the CPU. Now also you're looking at a different
É
aesthetic.
por isso que as bordas mini ATX costumam ser melhores na questão da memória, no caso de estarem mais perto do processador. É já uma matéria muito conhecida.
Destiny 2 kind of looks like they've drawn some artwork from that with this motherboard right here. But stepping through the cycle here, we've got some Z890s hitting the market as well.
Tudo muito branco neste vídeo.
7 and Ultra 9. They've also got something similar going on here.
Sabem, o Tech City é australiano.
It doesn't look like they're focusing as much R&D as they are on the AMD side.
Mas bordas diferentes do concreto, acho muito bem.
Not a whole lot
A
of
colorful.
Ultra CPUs from Intel at this point in time. But moving on through the stack here, they've got that same military aesthetic.
Este está sempre a controlar ali.
Frozen B20. And then moving over here, we've actually got some really cool concepts with the Ultra.
Eu gostei desta.
They've got that LED light
Esta micro ou mini ATX.
you can customize to your liking. But then you've got here a Meow edition, which is my personal favorite on the B.
Ai meu Deus do céu. Para a malta
Motherboards, but also
asiática, isto é um delírio.
with the DDR5 and 32 gigabyte sticks being very popular,
O Colorful também tem umas gráficas muito interessantes.
it's going to be fine on 2 slots. And so you're just saving a bit of cost.
Não se esqueçam que nesta feira houve muita gente a apanhar o
ITX.
Covid.
This here is again
Um
just
deles até foi o do Hardware Unbox.
this one is coming in with
Esta
performance.
também está muito interessante.
What they're
Ok.
talking about here is bringing in this mini ITX board with all the high memory speed overclocking up to 8,000 megahertz. They want to bring this in under 200 USD. So they're utilizing that chipset, the B850 that's cheaper than the X870, and they're doing so with all the feature set that you would want from a high-end motherboard, but still trying to bring down the price under the 200 USD. Now, if we move back to this motherboard right here, this one's going to be a similar formula where it's going to be 300 or just under 300 USD. And all these motherboards are apparently
Vamos ver se a Colorful vai destacar.
with Asus, ASRock, MSI or Gigabyte remains to be seen, but it's good to see that there's now another player in the game
Acho bem.
ready to compete in the space of motherboards. Now we were talking about their Meow motherboards.
Aí está o computador da Miau.
Meow custom
Meu Deus do céu.
setup. Now in terms of the monitor itself, that's just got the Meow background. Then the keyboard, this looks like a custom
Tem tudo.
keyboard.
Ok.
And then you've got the Meow color-themed controller as well as the custom.
Computador, rato, caixa, teclado. Entendeu?
So for you cat lovers out there, I definitely want you to tell me in the comments
Quem gostar de gatos é.
your cat occurring right now. Is he loving or she? Is she or he loving what he sees right now?
Gráfica é colorful. Aqui está.
All their GPUs have already been released to the public, except this right here. And this is the Doom Dark Ages Edition RTX 5090. Now, the thing about this card is there's only been 10 of these made. And so, unfortunately, they're not going to be released to the public. And
Não estrago isso.
because this is probably one of the best custom GPUs I've seen in a very long time. So you've even got, like, in the middle here, you've got that Doom logo. And then if we turn around to the side, just so much detail here. You got Doom the Dark Ages.
Eu, pessoalmente, assim, eu gosto do Doom. Não joguei esta versão, mas comecei no Doom muitos anos atrás. Mas comprar uma gráfica com do Doom, pá, tem que ser para a malta que desenvolve o Doom. Mesmo em nível de colecionador, não acho a opção como deve ser. Mas enfim, também não fizeram muitas.
So there's the Advanced OC there. There's also the Vulcan. But then we've recently taken a look at a new contender in the market, and this has just been, I'm told, released today. This is the RTX 5060 8GB. Now, this is coming in at $299, and honestly, guys, it's for a mid-range card, going from the 3060 12GB to the 5060 8GB, like, when did that become a thing in tech? So, in terms of colorful, I do like the design, though, of the actual...
estética tudo bem.
Just a clean aesthetic.
Mas esta gráfica foi uma vergonha. Muitos gigas. Esta 5060.
We've already checked out the performance of this thing, and on a 2-slot cooler, it performed really well. So if the 2-fan edition's working fine, then you can be rest assured that that 3-fan edition is going to be...
mas isto para o mercado asiático é capaz de ser interessante.
As we've been talking about already in the video, the Meow edition.
Yeah.
5060 so, I gotta admit,
Meow edition.
Really picking things up in terms of originality, and seeing with that motherboard the 1 and 3 slots.
Acho bem. Para fazerem bocado, avaliarem bocado o mercado, acho bem. Sem...
What those motherboards can do, especially in contention against the big brands like...
Esperemos que traga qualidade também e preço.
COMPUTEX. And if you guys enjoyed this one, then be sure to hit that like button. And also, if you have any questions or comments about today's stuff, then be sure to drop that down below. And with that aside, I'll catch you in another tech video very soon. Peace out for now.
Cat City. Vejam o vídeo dele, depois quiserem tirar alguma opinião, ok? E agora vamos para os nossos amigos do Hardware Unbox. Acho que vão falar da GMSI, acho eu, e mais qualquer coisa na borda deles.
COMPUTEX coverage on the showroom floor at MSI, and we've heard they have a lot of new AMD AM5 motherboards, many more X870/X870E boards.
A MSI está a dar forte nas boards para a AMD, como é óbvio. Para a Intel é uma vergonha.
We'll be merging between the showroom floor and their HQ, but hopefully that works out well because there's just a lot of stuff to cover. So let's get to it.
Our COMPUTEX coverage is brought to you.
Isto é publicidade, já sabem.
They've heard the criticism or the feedback, and we now have an X870
Jesus, olha
from MSI.
esta board, mini board.
Pretty cool features on this board. So I'll start with, well, the M.2s. So one of the criticisms we've had of a lot of ITX boards is the fact that they only include 2 usually M.2s, some of the better ones 3 M.2 ports. Well, this one has 4. So there are
espetacular.
4 really. MSI initially was sort of saying technically it's 3 on board plus an expansion card, but you can't use the board without the expansion card, and you can use all 4 ports simultaneously. So it really is a 4-port board. So
para quem quiser fazer aqueles computadores pequeninos, esta borda é fantástica.
A bit sketchy. There's 2 ports under here, and then you have 1 on the back, which you would usually be able to access.
Porta da... vai lá.
Maybe an M.2 that you install before you put the board in. And it's silver mostly on the back, the PCB color, or grey, one of the two, which you pick one.
As bordas grandes também podiam usar este tipo de técnica.
Black elements.
Embora, por outro lado, imaginem, quando vocês tiverem um problema, imaginem tem uma avaria naquela M2, num PC tradicional, tem que desmontar tudo para ter acesso. Normalmente não dá.
It may have
Tem essa desvantagem.
all that stuff on there. So I'm not 100% sure on that, don't quote me, but I confirmed with MSI all 4 M.2s can be used simultaneously on this board, and when you install this expansion card here, it doesn't disable anything else on the board, so it is fully functioning, which makes sense.
Yeah.
It is an X870 motherboard. You do get the dual USB for 40 gigabits per second ports, as well as a USB Type-C 10 gigabits per second port. And there's a few other Type A's on there. It looks like there's 5 of them in total there, and they all look to be 10 gigabit USB. So plenty of USB support there. A lot of easy connector stuff that makes the installation easy. So you've got the easy Wi-Fi antennas, you just pop them in. Looks like they can be screwed in as well on this particular model, but yeah, they've been told by MSI it's the easy system. And then we have like the easy stuff for the M.2s where you can just, easily access.
Este tipo de encaixe agora está muito bom.
That's the one underneath.
Acho bem que
Easy to get to.
os fabricantes vão evoluindo, não é?
Dropping everything.
Lá nos estragos.
Easy. So that's our quick look at MSI's upcoming MPG X870i Edge TI.
Preço?
And this one should be available in Q3, I'm told, for $300.
Para $219.
Why 300?
Yeah.
310. Let's go.
Yeah.
All right, we'll move on and have a look at some motherboards. Okay, now another series of motherboards
A minha custou menos de metade.
is the B850 lineup. Guys,
Mas é normal, quando são pequenas são sempre caras.
after we get back from COMPUTEX, I do
Estes 3 modelos também são modelos pequenos.
a list of boards. So this one is another Q3 release, so I'll probably have to do additional content to fit this one in. Is a higher end Edge board, so it's an Edge TI version. So MSI do have a mini ITX B850 board, but it is,
Esta minha deve ser mais cara.
so now they have a higher end version, the TI version. So this board
Type version.
dual M.2s, unfortunately not 3, but 2 is sort of the minimum amount we like to see.
Provavelmente tinha ali pode causar barulho, não é? Mas a minha X570 também tinha ventoinha, não é?
You get Wi-Fi 7, 5 gigabit LAN, quite a few
Yeah.
USB ports, so we'll probably get some shots of that to show you.
Vamos ver se ele vai dizer o preço.
Yeah, good looking board.
Por acaso não. Porque é 850 e a outra era 870.
Again, available in Q3. So it'll be a board that I test in the not too distant future, hopefully. And then lastly, we have another mini ITX motherboard here. This is a B8.
860, teoricamente.
So probably won't be covering
Capaz de ser mais barato. Yeah.
option for those of you looking at those
Que é uma B, como a minha.
processors, for example. So the board features Thunderbolt 4, so 40 gigabits.
Mas tem Thunderbolt.
USB Type-C 10 gigabits per second. It has 5 gigabit LAN, obviously dual DIMM slots. It is dual M.2. And I should have mentioned all of these boards do feature an 8-phase V-Core VRM. I believe the X870 board is 110 amp, and then I think 90 amp for the other 2 boards, but if that's wrong, we'll chuck something up on screen because I don't quite recall. Okay, so
Não deu preço.
out of MSI is their lack of AM for
Zeiss.
particularly the X870 range. They've had 4 X870/X870E boards prior to the show. They're now expanding that to 14, and the new flagship will be the Ace. So a lot of you guys are familiar
870. Esta borda é caríssima.
I would say. The Ace is the new flagship that you'll be able to readily purchase. Absolutely insane motherboard. I'm told
É.
it has an 18-phase V-Core VRM using
Isto é mesmo um canhão.
so you're going to be able to throw anything on that. USB,
Deixa cá ver.
of course, so it's got
Que é
those 40 gigabits per second ports, Wi-Fi 7,
500 a 800.
like that for the PCIe, the M.2s
E com estas ligações todas.
in total, 2 of which are
Meu Deus.
5.0. So it's pretty much loaded with every feature possible. I believe it'll be available sometime in July.
Diz lá o preço.
Pricing yet, but this
Ah,
keep an eye on, and hopefully I'll be able to get one and test it out.
mas é dentro desses valores.
Okay, so we have another new series of products here, really. So a new Project Zero compatible case. Don't have to use it with Project Zero motherboards, which are the rear-facing sort of I/O, all that sort. Is it I/O? The connectors, the power connectors, all that sort of stuff are on the rear side of the motherboard. So this Project Zero case, well, supports Project Zero motherboards, which is what MSI call their rear-facing boards. What's really cool about this one is we have the new Tomahawk Project Zero motherboard. It's the first Tomahawk board available in white. Again, it's sort of the white-silver theme going on, but in this case, I think you'll agree it does all look very white. So first time we're seeing a Tomahawk Project Zero white motherboard. It looks fantastic. Really keen to get one of these and do a build like this. So
aquele LED ali.
And this case is the Mag Pano 130R PZ for Project Zero in white. So
Deixa eu ver
there will be a black.
se ele vai dizer o preço, se aquilo está incluído ou não.
And the case is
Aquele display.
quite affordable as a lot of the Project Zero cases are. This one about $90 US. We're expecting it.
$90, mas não está incluído aquilo.
Now inside the case,
Pois, isto,
something really.
claro. Diz lá.
It's called the Mag Vision Lite 12 LCD screen. It is a 1920 by 720 screen, if I get the pixel ratio correct on
Deve ser mais cara que a caixa.
screens inside cases before, and they usually sort of plumb out and you plug in using an HDMI or DisplayPort into your graphics card, so it takes up one of your monitor outputs, which is a bit annoying if you have a triple monitor display or something like that. This doesn't do that. It is a USB screen. So you connect it either internally via one of the USB headers, or you can connect it externally, as we have an external example here.
É,
And this
muito bom.
functions as another monitor on your computer. So you can use it with your mouse and put whatever you want on it.
Aí é interessante.
We're showing hardware info and information here. A bit more expensive, this item. So the case, $90. This is expected to be about $120.
É, $120. Ah, caixa 90 e 120. É normal.
So something that we're pretty keen to check out in the future. All right, what we have here is the Supreme Titanium Edition.
Isto é.
Edition. It's well, first of all, it is
Do
actually
not touch. Cuidado.
for reasons not quite sure, and it's going to be gold. So as you're showing here, this is actually going to be a real product available in
É.
and yeah, titanium graphics card. So
Vai ser barata, vai.
the next level there. Not sure what else to say about that. It does look pretty cool, but I'm not sure how many builds it will actually really blend into and suit well. All right.
Ei, este refrigerador lembra-me. É,
It's sort of a Zellman type look.
é, a Zalman tive disso.
This is the Cyclone. It is an RTX 5070, 12GB VRAM.
Eu acho até que tem, no outro dia até tem um fora, porque estive a fazer limpeza na garagem, peças, coisas que já não uso.
This is coming.
Yeah.
It is a product they
Aquilo deve ser, era um socket para um Intel, acho eu, um daqueles antigos.
sort of an old school looking card. Pretty neat and very different to the graphics cards that we have today. And MSI is also bringing back the Twin Frozer, which is more of a classic design as well. But truth be told, it is quite similar to a lot of the graphics cards that we see today. But this was
Então a MSI
fan graphics cards.
vai alterar muita configuração das gráficas, parece.
Deciding to bring that back. Again, don't know which regions will be getting this card. This particular model is meant to be an RTX 5060 Ti 16GB. But yeah, pretty interesting, cooler, but yeah, very basic design there with the heatsink and all that sort of stuff. All right, so we're over with the Inspire series now, which sits just above the Ventus. It's designed to offer slightly better thermals, but still a very sort of minimalistic, I wouldn't say simplistic design, because they're still quite complicated GPUs, you know, huge copper base, lots of heat pipes and stuff like that. So thermal performance should be good, but there is a new, even more compact dual fan version, which I can kind of pick up. So there we go. And, you know, full-size backplate, all that sort of stuff, a pass-through area for airflow. It's quite lightweight, but yeah, expecting pretty good performance out of that one. And one of the cooler features of this series is the fact that you are getting a metal fan shroud. So it's a metal plate.
Não, mas são esteticamente são muito engraçadas.
Despite the fact that it does just
Simplistas, mas visualmente muito engraçadas.
do away with all of the gamer-focused stuff, which Tim says isn't gamer-focused stuff. RGB, all that.
Hang on, what are you talking about here?
The RGB. You were
Yeah.
quite insulted when you heard that RGB makes it a gamer card.
I feel like as a gamer that I should be able to enjoy a non-RGB design, so I quite like it.
Também sou a favor.
Just wanted to make that clear. The Inspire is still a gamer.
Só que toda a gente sabe que o RGB E os LEDs nos dão mais FPS. Olha, eu gosto muito desta.
5080 version. This is a pull push through card design. I hear it'll be coming sometime in July. 5080 is the model that we've seen here at the show.
Ser diferente, gostei.
Massive vapor chamber, and they're saying where are the other cards? Like this will sit under the van.
Também é MSI. Muito admirado com o MSI.
This is a triple slot card. So it's meant to deliver similar thermals and very quiet operation due to just the way they've designed the card. So very compact for a 5080 class product. Not sure if we'll be getting a 5090. Really
Esta já não gosto.
looking backplate.
Isto assim já não gosto.
And so the air exits the card from the backplate. Sucked in through the front here.
Gosto deste lado.
Pull through design. But yeah, pretty cool looking graphics card here. I'd be keen to check.
Não é que seja feia, mas
Now, this is really neat, this wall they've got here. So I thought I'd show you guys this. So we've got the various different vapor chambers from the 50 series graphics cards that MSI have on display here. And then a really close comparison of the coolers and their fans. So Ventus model here, we have the Supreme. You can see the huge size difference there.
é.
Shadow here, which is like a blacked out version of the Ventus.
A minha gráfica, não esqueçam, é uma da MSI também, mas é uma gaming.
Still similar to the Supreme, but not
Uma velhinha, 3070.
the gaming.
Tem 5 anos, já passou os 5 anos.
So that's the dual fan, and then the Inspire, which we've also looked at. So that's all of the coolers there. You can see the different sizes, formats there. Most of them are triple fans. A couple of the back plates up here, and then we have the different fans from the Storm.
Parece que os gajos vão mostrar muita coisa. Será?
Torx 1.8. It's really cool to see the evolution of the Torx fan, how it's got to today and then now into the Storm form.
Não, o Benzi está a mostrar a evolução, está mais por aí.
Okay, what we have here is not so much a product, but more a feature that MSI are looking to add potentially to all of their products, or at least some of the more premium ones. Not 100% sure on that, but it is called, well, it's PIP, it's pin-in-paste technology, which basically means, well, they're calling it pin-safe. I called it anti-stabby technology. I'm not sure what they're going to go with. I told them they could use anti-stabby if they
Eu
wanted.
nem vou dizer nada, que já sei o que é.
I don't know if I got them across the line on that one. But anyway, basically, they're
Não vamos ter os picos.
stabby bits.
Quantas vezes eu me piquei, entre aspas, não é? E até sangrei com aqueles contactos das soldas.
It can be a bit harsh, and there can be
Pois.
smaller parts that are quite sharp, and they can stab you.
Nada.
They're trying to make the boards easier and more comfortable to handle. And on that note, this board, which we'll talk about in a moment, often, and I don't know if this has happened to many of you guys, maybe it's just me because I do silly things like test 50 motherboards for one video, but during my 50 Z890 motherboard video, for example, where I rounded up 50 motherboards, at least 3 times when I was removing the memory modules from the DIMM slots, you have to, and it's quite awkward when the motherboard's in the case, you have to push quite hard
Pois.
on the clips here to release the DIMMs.
É para as unhas.
Slipped off, and a lot of boards directly adjacent the DIMM slot have a 4-pin
Sei bem que é.
WM header, and the pins from that, at least one of them, went straight under my nail, and it hurt a lot.
Pois é.
Moving those connectors to the side of the board and trying not to have them around there, because apparently the MSI techs have also stabbed themselves multiple times and it hurt a lot. So that's just a little nice thing.
É, não pensei por isso.
Before.
Estão de parabéns. Este PC aqui do lado também está fantástico.
Some other way, but that'll be one less way that I can stab myself. So we'll actually, while we're here talking about stabbing myself, in an unrelated note, this is the new M-Power. For those of you who are old like me and have been tinkering with this stuff for a long time, MSI used to have an overclocking range called M-Power, and they're bringing M-Power back with an AM5 version. And basically the focus is it's your OC focused board here, so none of the unnecessary things unnecessary to overclocking. So you're not going to get high speed networking. Though it does have 5 gigabit, but you're not going to get stuff like 10 gigabit or just oodles of USB ports and stuff like that. It really is sort of your roughly bare essentials on that front. Memory overclocking, big one here.
Diz lá o preço dessa board.
1,000 speeds and stuff like that. That's not fully certified yet for this board, but yeah, they're going to speeds and stuff like that with the M-Power board. So other than that, big VRM, high-speed memory. That's pretty much the board in a nutshell. Now, this
Esta caixa eu gostei.
is the Meg Maestro 900L giant case. That's pretty much what this is. You can put 420mm radiator in the bottom and the top, centrally mounted motherboard. It is a traditional motherboard tray in the sense that the motherboard tray can be removed from the case and it can be used as like a test bench, test bed. So if
Deve ser.
stuff all that, or
Esta é aquela caixa,
as a test bench configuration as well.
mas na versão desmanchada. É engraçada.
Sort of prototype phase. It is something
Ainda é prototype.
stuff like the cable management cover here might get changed slightly, but the idea is to create like a centerpiece, high-end, awesome-looking system that's very clean and easy to work with. And then they've used the Vision 12 monitors on either side there, but you can put 360mm radiators there or 6 120mm fans if you'd prefer to configure it that way. I believe
Este tipo de caixa vai custar uma pipa de massa.
in this case, so $600 US.
$600.
I'm not even going to try and pick this one up. It just looks like it will break my back. So we'll move on. Now, this AIO with LCD screen included
É,
was just seen in the Maestro 900. It's the E13
está a pegar a moda.
version,
Eu estou mais ligado na eficiência, silêncio
centrally mounted with
e duração.
here. They're quite short,
Mas eu sei que há pessoas para este mercado.
designed to be a really slim or sleek aesthetic.
Mas não é o meu caso.
To install, and yeah, gives you that clean look, which is what this case is all about. You can rotate this screen. When I disconnect it there, it's going to take about 10 seconds to boot back up. I think if you have the screen that way, you want the cables, I'm moving the whole thing now. You want the cable,
É uma tecnologia muito.
put it back. But yeah, it takes about 20 seconds or whatever to boot up and start working again, or less than that. So there you go, it's working again. You can
Fantástico.
display whatever you'd like on the screen. It acts as a screen. The screen acts as a screen. We'll go with that. This is still in the sort of prototyping stage, so
Ok, me interessa-me é que aquele dissipador seja eficiente, meu. Que não vai aquecer aquilo.
and the P13 is quite different.
Coisa assim mais simples.
Screen. They do have a smaller LCD display. Hopefully you guys can see that okay, but we'll get some B-roll. Now this one uses the one type of mounting bracket, but it's universal. So this mounting bracket, which you can see here, works for the latest Intel and AMD platforms. And the cool thing is it has this magnetic housing, shroud, that just sticks straight over that and
Yeah.
hides all the fixing hardware, so you get this clean look. So traditionally the coolers look more like this, where you can see the thumb screws and all that sort of stuff. But with this over there,
Isto é só para dar um acabamento mais bonito.
the cool thing
É.
is there's actually no cables at all that come from the pump housing, so the
Isso é coisas que realmente
through the sleeved tubing to the
têm que melhorar.
radiator. And if you have an MSI compatible motherboard, it's simply one connector to power the pump, fans, and control the RGB. If you don't have an MSI motherboard, then there's the RGB cable, there's a USB cable, and you've got the 4-pin power cable, probably for the pump and fans. I believe that's the configuration. Not sure if there's a SATA cable there as well, but there's at least 3 cables if you're not using an MSI motherboard. But if you use this with an MSI board, it's just one cable, so it makes it all nice and sleek and easy to install and use. All right, guys, we're going to do some SSDs unboxed. So we have
Agora são sistemas de armazenamentos. Eu gostei daquele que está no telemóvel, que é um sistema de armazenamento.
the new Pfizer
Ligas ao telemóvel. Muito bom.
6nm
Este que está aqui. Ok?
uses 20% less energy than previous models, so you don't need those gigantic tower style M.2 coolers.
Há malta que vai com o telemóvel fazer coisas mais pesadas, vídeos.
And of course, the key aspect is 14,800 megabytes per second read and 14,000 megabytes per second write.
Não sei é o consumo. Normalmente os M2
Cool. So
não consomem muito.
look at
Aí está, 40 gigabytes.
here is the data mag, and previously
Fantástico.
20 gigabits per second, there is now a 40 gigabits per second model. So USB 4 available in 1, 2, and 4 terabyte capacity.
40 gigabytes por segundo, aliás.
Drive, because while it is just an external SSD essentially, the unique case that MSI
Até 4 terabytes.
mag Mag-safe technology, and if you have a device that doesn't support, magnetic mounting of other devices, they do include a magnet that can be stuck to, say, your laptop, for example, similar to, for those of you who are familiar with, like, disc plates would mount them. So the drive can be just popped on the lid of your laptop there, so it's not floating around your desk and getting in the way. So pretty neat, and yeah, USB 4, so high-speed performance there. Should be able to fill that thing up in no time, even if you do buy the 4TB model. Finally, a big thank you to G-Skill and Trovo
Muito bom.
to make our COMPUTEX trip possible this year. G-Skill
Ok, guarda o unbox, vejam o vídeo deles, sigam o canal, põem ali um gostinho, também é muito bom. Agora vamos ao category, ok, é já outro que falámos aqui também. Até estava a esquecer de fazer aqui uma coisa.
COMPUTEX 2025. Behind me, I have
É a Sapphire.
You won't be the least bit surprised to learn it's running on a Sapphire graphics card. However, you might be surprised to learn it's also running on a Sapphire motherboard. When do we
Isso é que eu não sabia. Board da Sapphire.
motherboard? The answer is now. There's a range of motherboards and they use
Os gajos vão entrar nisto.
graphics card families. So top right we have a Nitro Plus X870 EA1
Não sei se será para o nosso mercado ou só o mercado asiático, né?
BTF.
Mas é bom.
70 chipset motherboard and its ATX form factor.
Nota-se a apresentação mais básica, não é?
Really cosmetic. I'm convinced it's going to cost an absolute fortune. I'm hoping I'm wrong. They can't be pushing towards godlike territory, but I suspect that one's going to cost plenty. To the left, we have what looks like the second in the stack, also Nitro Plus. This is B850, also ATX. Looks like it's a very similar motherboard. Just
Tem essas
fantastic.
peças para gráficas, não, bem gráficas.
Come down.
Não faz sentido.
Right. Nitro Plus B850M Wi-Fi. I need to say it here and now, we have no clue on pricing. I don't think the people in the room
Pena.
certainly haven't told us. This is a micro ATX B850. We come to the middle. Pure B650M, pure as we know means white. So it's micro ATX. The 600 and 800 chipsets coexist. On the left, we have a Pulse B850 MP Wi-Fi. So that's also micro ATX, and that's using a B850 chipset. Bit of a weird way they're chopping and changing with the 600 and 800 families, but let's not get too worried about that.
Não é que sejam esteticamente feias. Aqui agora é necessário saber a qualidade. Portanto, drivers e aquilo. Que isso é que é fundamental para uma board. Ok?
No heatsink or shroud over the rear I/O.
Tem que esperar.
Heatsink is relatively basic, only 2 memory slots. And then bottom right, we have the A520M, very basic chipset.
Esta é a básica.
Really basic VRM. This board aims
É o chip mais básico, é o A520.
to review it. Nitro Plus looks like the one for me. When we look at this graphics card, the Nitro Plus 9070
Isto também é da Sapphire.
Phantom Link,
Yeah.
and we look at that gold finger there just above my finger. So we have the regular PCI Express connector plus that, and then we return to the motherboard.
Estas boards.
When your graphics card plugs in there, you don't need the 12-volt high power cable. You can go cable
Yeah.
free. All the power comes
Isto é
from the motherboard.
futuro.
That's a lot, but that feature only on
Yeah.
the motherboard. Below
É,
the
mas ainda vai demorar a chegar.
Phantom Link,
Ok?
we have a regular Nitro Plus 90.
É para acabarem com os cabos.
No gold finger there,
Mas
just
obrigado a trocarem os vossos componentes, desde a board, neste caso, e a gráfica.
below those, we have the pulse.
E a caixa. A caixa também tem que trocar as caixas. Estas nem tanto.
Something
So-
that sadly is not in our domain. And if Rosie just swings
Esta é aquela gráfica de trabalho.
you'll understand the whirring noise you might be hearing.
Oh.
It's a circle with 8 graphics cards
Servidor.
away, making a hell of a din. Anyway, back to the Pro graphics card. So this is the recently announced 9700 32GB card.
Isso já mostramos na apresentação da AMD.
From the regular desktop card, instead of 16 gig of memory, you get 32 gig. That's it. Why they made us wait? No idea. They could have brought this out months ago, but never mind. So having seen the motherboards and graphics cards, and now you see the build again, it makes more sense, doesn't it? There's a lot of Sapphire going on here. Moving to the right, we have a Sapphire Pure build. We've seen these over the years. Whiting.
Esta branquinha já gosto.
Of course, you've got loads of cables everywhere because this doesn't have
Esta já é normal.
technology. Here we get a good close look at Phantom Link in operation, and you come around the back. If you need to connect a 12-volt high power
Que também tem ventoinha.
plate, it's magnetically attached, and you plug in your cable. But without the need for cables, it's lovely and
Também tem fonte de alimentação. Pá, excelente.
which in this context looks ever so slightly ridiculous and rather undersized. And shock horror, we have some AI-ness. Sapphire Edge AI. It's a mini PC. It runs on a
Tá
laptop,
fantástico.
obviously from AMD. We don't know the pricing. Fairly confident it'll be under $1,000. And you can see here a whole bunch of options. The idea is the laptop chip
Esteticamente está muito, muito bonito.
has 3 M.2
Pequenino.
cores. However, you can plug in accessories, not just storage to M.2, including co-processors that add more AI. And the AI is for example, there we are. We're on what looks like thermal camera. We're being checked out by the AI-ness. And if we go over here, we see an example of the Edge AI unit. And here we have a card showing Halo co-processors on M.2 SSDs. We're told that this unit has 2 of those inside. So instead of having 50 TOPS of AI, it's actually got 130 TOPS of AI. And the result is we're being checked out on webcam for goodness knows what reason. I find that mildly terrifying. I'm signing off in front of this.
Este gajo também está
Expected I had
umas bocas muito parecidas.
to be a thing. And I'm really pleased to see Sapphire moving back into motherboard.
Category, não sabem?
A long time. So
Passem por ele
please check us out on TikTok.
e deem gostozinho. Ok? Já mostrei este no outro dia.
Holding in my hand
Aí está.
a very niche problem that happens on those 600 watt RTX 5090s.
Okay.
And now with the 12 volt 2x6, the high power connector, sometimes you may have seen on the internet, you can have a melted connector. Now ASRock have a solution with their Taichi power supplies. And these range from the 1300 watt all the way up to the 1650 watt, which they've got 2 of these on display at the moment. But back to
É muito bonito, muito bonito.
it has is an independent temperature sensor built onto the connector itself that then plugs into the power supply with a 2-pin connector. And this has got a 95 Celsius temperature maximum. So when or if that GPU something starts going,
Isto devia ser a obrigação da própria Nvidia.
then this will just shut off
Prontos.
the entire power supply and save you from a melted connector, possibly a damaged GPU in the process. Now also you'll notice the color coding here, where it's got 2 different colors between the actual connection point and the main connector. And what this means is that once that's fully black to your visible eyes, you know you've fully inserted the connector. So a really unique design that's only available on the Taichi line of power supplies and not also on the Steel Legend series, which we'll be taking a look at later. But one unique feature about these power supplies is that they are so high powered that you will need to have a C9
ASRock
higher power
será que vai ter sucesso aqui nisto?
Now, also inside the power supply itself, when we move over to this transparent display here, you've got MOSFETs inside from Infineon, as well as silicon carbide throughout the actual power supply, as well as 100% Japanese capacitors throughout. This just means that they can hit a 94% efficiency rating. Basically,
Vamos ver.
power supplies.
Quantos mais fabricantes, melhor.
Also got the performance to match. Now, here's the thing about this power supply. It's going to be coming in at just under 500 USD, but it's also got that safety feature built in, and the fact that the competitors are releasing their power supplies like this for 550, I think it's a good, nice competitive power supply for the market.
É, fazer mercado de 500 euros, mas estas são fontes muito boas.
I think the Taichi power supply actually makes a lot of sense. But as we move over now to the Steel Legend series, this has got that much more budget focus in mind, but still obtaining those high power ratings of the 80 plus gold, as well as having from the 650 watt model starting at $90, going up to the 1200
A
watt
partir dos $90.
$180. And what these feature is still the 100
180.
caps, but they are going away with like things like silicon carbide, as well as the Infineon CoolMOS MOSFETs. And also these take the C-Night, and also for the connection at the back, these take just your regular kettle cable style connections. So looking at these power supplies, however, the design itself, both the Steel Legend and the Taichi series are fully modular. And you'll see here 135mm fans to keep things very cool as well as quiet. Now in particular on these Steel Legends, you've got the white and the black aesthetic available, but you've also got an RGB switch on the back to change your colors out as well as turn off the RGB if you want to by cycling with the power supply directly. So you don't really need to hook this up to any RGB firmware or software to have a bit of RGB coming out. Also, the final thing I forgot to mention was the actual warranty. Even on a 650 watt Steel Legend at $90, 10 years. And so
10 anos de garantia, mesmo na mais barata. Pá, isso é fantástico. Isso é fantástico.
ASRock booth to something that really caught my eye was this 32-inch
Monitor, isso é que eu não me lembro de saber
panel
que havia monitores. Olha,
4K lineup. And what you're getting here essentially is not just the panel and the gorgeous picture and the gloss look, you're also getting a calibrated panel at that. So the calibration included in the monitor is what's making ASRock really stand out from the competitors on their monitors. As well as noticing it's got a
Por acaso tenho aí depois um vídeo também para ver de vários monitores.
to just try
Ok.
and distinguish themselves a little
Acho que é também do Hardware Unbox.
I've already tried 240 Hz the generation before on the 4K OLED Samsung QD OLED panels. They're absolutely gorgeous, and it's one of those things in tech where I was actually talking about this last night over just having dinner with the boys. And for me, it's the one thing I get addicted to. It's just like having one of these panels. It's just too good. And I find myself, instead of doing work and just doing regular things, I find myself getting addicted to video games because of this panel right here. But in terms of release dates, we're coming out in about Q3 this year. So around September, you can expect this thing
Lá para final do ano.
under $1,000 USD. The pricing is still anywhere between, I'd say, 800 and 1,000. That's what I'm being told. But I mean, if you
Entre 800 a $1.000.
this thing is it. It's going to be a generation ahead of what I've
32 polegadas, mas isto são monitores fantásticos.
It's just absolutely gorgeous 240 Hz 4K. So that's that one coming out. They've also got beside that, these are already released. The 27 inches are available on the market, the 360 Hz for 600 USD roughly. I think it's 625 on Newegg or something like that. But that's
Aqui na Europa não se encontra tanto disto.
the LG matte 240 Hz. Now this is also around 600 USD. But I was thinking to myself, why would I not just pay the extra 25 USD, get the gloss coating, and the extra 120 Hz of refresh rate? I just think having them side by side, you can see the comparison here. That's what you're getting with gloss versus matte. I just think the gloss looks way better. Even in a well-lit environment like we're using now, the reflections aren't that bad. Of course, the matte panel will block out reflections better, give them sort of a Gaussian blur, but is that really worth it when you can just close the curtains and really enjoy those colors, those vibrant colors, and just the crispness just pops even more? But let's go around the corner here because they've also got one more monitor to look at that's being released a little bit later. Now, it's actually, they don't even have a price on this one, but it's for those people who want a little bit more budget in mind.
400 MHz.
PG27 QFW2A, and it's a Quad HD or 1440p monitor, and it's also
27 polegadas.
refresh rate. But with all that aside, guys, that wraps up our coverage for power supplies and monitors here at the
É fantástico.
actually really different and really interesting.
Fiquei admirado com a ASRock, com algumas dessas coisas. Pode ser.
And I'll get back to you as soon as I can. With that,
Portanto, vejam aqui o Tex City e agora sobre aquela situação dos cabos. A Messi já tinha aqui isto há muito tempo. Aqueles cabos com aquelas cores pipis para a gente ver, não sei o quê. Só que estes cabos continuam a dar problemas. A ver aqui como é que o cabo ficou. Não é? Também derretem, pá. Também derretem. Ok. Ia dizer que também derretem a mão do gajo, mas não. Se não estragar a gráfica, já não. Eu, no momento em que vi que o lançamento das 5090, desculpem, das 4090, também eu disse logo que isto ia dar problemas. Ok? Nós já tínhamos problemas com gráficas que tinham 3 conectores antigamente. Acontecia muito. Mas no momento em que passamos a ter 4, eu disse logo, quando ainda as 4090 tinham chegado, eu disse num dos vídeos que eu acho que isto ia haver problemas. E houve. Eles agora, porque depois dizem então que isto não estar bem encaixado, que causava então os problemas. A culpa é do utilizador que não encaixou isto e que agora isto vai ver. É treta. Ok? Porque a teoria é uma coisa, mas depois a prática é outra. Ok? Agora, aquele cabo que aparece aqui no vídeo é um cabo diferente. Ok? Porque ele vai trazer então um outro extra que vai ligar com a fonte de alimentação. Aliás, acho que está aqui, dá para ver, mas não dá porque que é este cabozinho que está aqui, que vai ligar na fonte, mas eu acho que a tua fonte vai ter que estar preparada para isso. Então este cabo vai detectar voltagens extras no cabo e faz desligar a fonte. Ok? Claro que é preferível desligar a fonte antes de queimar a tua gráfica, o teu processador, a tua fonte de alimentação, o teu PC inteiro, a tua casa, como aconteceu, não é? Mas, epá, 600 watts não, que vão passar aqui corrente neste cabozinho, isto é que é o que causa os problemas. Foi isto que causou os problemas, ok? Que é, pá, muita corrente para um espaço tão pequeno, certo? Mas, na altura quando eu falei isso, pá, ninguém se acreditava, não é? Porque eu sou o Zé da esquina, só que eu já ando muitos anos na informática, ok? E é uma tristeza. E depois tu estás a dar 3.000 euros por uma gráfica e vai-te derreter. Pá, não sei. Eu sinceramente acho que há coisas que às vezes há mesmo pessoas que aceitam tudo e mais alguma coisa, mas cada um é que sabe, não é? Cada um é que sabe. Pronto, vamos ficar por aqui, por mais um resumo. Eu acho que ainda tenho para ir por mais 2 ou 3, porque eu não queria fazer resumos muito grandes. Este foi quase 50 minutos. Mas costumo juntar assim 3, 4 pessoas boas conhecidas e artigos também boas conhecidos para fazer, tá bom? Muito obrigado, continua